that are adults that they have with them help us to like keep the kids in their groups, just to make sure everybody gets to see the same things. We go over like recycles here on the farm. We talk about the outhouses, how it's not like a normal bathroom. We don't flush. There's no running water. Just so the kids already know that, so they're not freaked out or anything when they go in there. And then to talk about fences, Ashley's gonna go grab the board for us. We'll talk about that with you guys. We talk about like how this first one looks pretty safe. It's really nice and smooth wire, but it actually has electrical current running through it. And if you guys are quiet, you guys can hear the tick, and that's what runs the electrical current running through these. So we have to stay away from those. Also to stay away from the barbed wire fences, because they have the little prickers sticking out that could give you caught in your skin or rip closed. These other two fences, they're safe, but they're not very sturdy, so they can touch them or put their hand through them, but they can't climb on them, along with our wood fences. They're sturdy, but we don't allow any climbing on those fences. Right, on the wagon ride, we tell the kids that they need to stay serious, not to reach out and grab any branches. It is going to be a little bumpy, but
the mud should help. It won't be that bad.
We call the girls mares and the boys stallions. Over here, the first brown one is Bo. He is a stallion. And then the one behind him is Marley. She's one of our mares that we have. If you notice, the one way in the back has a blanket. They wear blankets to keep the bugs off of them. If it's really sunny, it protects them from the sun. If it's cool out or rainy, just like we wear jackets, it protects them in that way as well. The horses, they'll eat hay, which we grow here in the farm. They also eat a grain, which is fed twice a day. The babies are called, for a boy, it's a colt, and for a girl, it's a filly. They also get treats like carrots and apples on occasion. They can't always eat those because it will make them sick if they get a lot of them. Just like if the kids ate a lot of candy, they would get sick. So, just like that. Our horses are on rough board, which means that they're outside all the time. In the winter, they'll wear blankets, which are like insulated. They do have shelters. It's actually better for an animal to be outside than inside. So, we try to keep them out as much as possible. Like this last winter, 2 of our horses did come in just because it was like negative 40.
Oh, okay.
But otherwise, we try to keep them outside as much as possible. 4 out of the 5 are show horses. This weekend, the farmer's daughter, Danica, is actually gone in Jefferson at a horse show. So one of the horses is gone. So Bo here and Marley, these 3 are actually all 3 show horses. And then 1 from the other pasture that we have. If you guys want to, you can reach in and pet her. This one's name is Pancake. She's one of the 4 show pigs that we have.
This is Garfield. When we have the kids come out on the farm, same with Gus and all of the pets that you might see that are household pets, such as like cats and dogs, we tell them that they are working animals, so they have a job, such as Gus, he's a herding dog, so if any of the animals get out It's his job to round them up and keep them in a contained area until the farmer can help him put them back in. Or with the cats, we'd ask them, what does a cat do on a farm? It would be catch mice. And why do they catch mice? Because the mice eat the grain and the different foods and the different foods that the animals might eat, which can get expensive. So the cats have a job, and the only way that they can pet the cat is if we are holding it, because they do have their claws, so we don't want any of the kids getting scratched. So that's when they can pet the cat, but we can never pet the dog because he's always constantly doing his job.
Yeah. And the dog will run up in front or behind you, but there's no reason to be scared. He's just trying to do his job and watch the animals. Over here, back to our pig. The girl pigs are called sows, and the boys are called boars. The babies are piglets. Most of their pig's diet is corn, but they can eat pretty much anything. So if you have like leftovers from your dinner plate, like mashed potatoes and gravy, or peas and carrots, the pigs can eat those. They can have treats like Oreo cookies or graham crackers or marshmallows. We'll occasionally give them carrots and stuff like that.
Also, if our pigs were outside, they have very, very strong snouts, so that helps them get at shoots that are in the ground from like fresh grass or anything like that. So.
In the wild, their main diet is roots. They don't necessarily eat the grass or the plants that are out above the ground, but they like the roots that are underneath the ground. That's why they dig around. Outside, pigs roll in the mud to keep themselves cool. It also, when the mud dries, it acts as a sunscreen for them to protect them from the warm weather.
Every pig has different notches in their ears that helps determine what litter they're from, what number in their litter that they are. Each ear has a different section of numbers. So that's how one way that the farmer identifies them when they're little, but then they also get ear tags when they're older, which can also help, say if a vet needs to come and the farmer's not around, he can leave an ear tag number, and then the vet knows which animal to treat,
Pork chops, bacon, ham. These are all items that you can find at your grocery store. The silo used to be used to store food called silage. That's corn, the whole corn plant, the leaves, the corn cob, the corn itself, all ground up into a food for the cows. That's what they eat over the winter. When they don't have grass to eat, they'll get fed hay and silage. We no longer use this silo just because if you look along the wall, there's a leak and it makes the food moldy, so the animals won't eat that. So just to avoid that, we store it outside in big bags. Inside the silo, we let the kids make an echo. That's where the sound is of your voice bounce off the walls. So when we count to 3, we all yell silo. And then when we go like this, they are all quiet and they get to hear it.
Also talking about some of the birds, like the pigeons that we have in here. They have a nest right up here.
Right above the ladder, there's a pigeon nest. You can see 2 white ones sitting up there right now. Sometimes they'll fly up and out the little opening up there.
It's just a nice, safe place for them because it's hard for something like a big hawk or an owl to get up the nest. So it's a nice place for them.
Alright, here we have a perfect example of the difference between our hay and our straw. Hay is what our animals eat. You can see how it's a green color. It's really grassy looking. And the straw, you can see how it's more yellow and stalky looking. The straw is used for their bedding. This is what they lay in when they're inside, so they're not all dirty. We can also put it outside if there's a really muddy area. We'll put it down on the ground so that they just lay there. Hay, all that hay is dried up grass, cut and then baled into squares or round bales. And the straw, that's the byproduct of wheat. It's the leftovers after we get the grain.
Alright, so here we have a really good example of explaining the difference between a dairy cow and a beef cow, which is something we tried to do. we asked the kids which ones they might think is a dairy cow, which one you think is the beef cow. So what one do you think is the beef cow and which one's the dairy cow? Because there's some over there and then some over here.
What is this one the beef?
These are, yep.
Oh, no, the dairy.
These are the dairy cows. They're really, really friendly. Beef are a little more
Looking
skittish.
for milk.
But we have milking shorthorns here at the farm, so these guys are shorthorns. And then over there we have our beef. There's Black Angus, and then the other one. What is the? Do you know what the- Chevron. Okay. And then Danica is actually going to be showing those guys. So we talk about the different products that come from the beef cow. Like you get your steak from your beef cow. Different products. So like a leather purse might come from the hide of a beef cow. And then talk about the different products that come from the dairy cows. So these little guys one day will produce milk, which in turn will produce, or which will make butter or cottage cheese or cream cheese, stuff like that. So this is where we point out the differences between them.
This here is wool. We asked the kids how we get wool and what animal it comes from. It comes from the sheep. A lot of times they'll say that it's fur, but it's a different fiber, so it's called wool. We'll go over how we get it off of the sheep, which is like a shears, just like this one, which will go all the way across the whole body of the sheep, getting the wool off. And then how we clean it. It's washed by hand, and then it'll be a little whiter than this. Then, after it's washed, it will get carded into these brushes. We allow the kids to try carding the wool if they would like to, and we do this until all the fibers are going the same direction. And when we brush it, it pulls all the straw or hay to the top, and then we can easily pull those out of the wool. And then after this is all nice and clean and fluffy, you can put it onto a spinning wheel, which will get made into yarn, and then that yarn gets turned into things like hats, mittens, scarves, blankets. The lamb's wool isn't the same as older sheep's wool. The lamb's wool is used for felt and the yellow part of a tennis ball. The sheep on our farm that we have are Oxfords and Cheviots. The sheep are the Oxfords. Notice how they have a black face with black on their legs, and then the rest of their body is white. Where the Cheviots, if you were able to see one of them, their whole face is white, and they don't have any black on their legs. They're completely white. They're also a little bit smaller. The boys are rams, and the girls are ewes, spelled E-W-E, but it sounds like me and you. The babies are obviously lambs, and all of our sheep are just grown for their wool. We don't have any meat.